You're in the jewelry studio.
Yes, I'm in Donatella's showroom. Yeah, it seemed to make sense because, you know, this is where we had our collaboration and previous collaborations. And so, and when we're talking afterwards, maybe the place actually, there's something about this place that connects to the whole idea of healing. So.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we look forward to hearing about your work in textiles in particular. I know that you're also a teacher as well as a textile artist and designer. So we look forward to hearing more about perhaps the spiritual and the healing side of your work.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Yes, thank you.
So Philip, Lee, Rania and team, I want to firstly thank you very much for inviting me here today. I've followed Lee's work for a long time, ever since I was a student in college, and have great admiration. And, you know, today, for example, she manages to put into words what other people are feeling, but they haven't actually got there yet, but she actually gives voice to what's in the air, which is incredible. Suganda and Rachel, I found their work wonderful, complimenti, as I would say here in Italy. I'd also like to thank everybody who's, you know, taken the afternoon off to be here today and listen to what we have to say. And I'd like to also thank Donatella Pellini, my friend and jewelry designer, for hosting the talk. As I was saying to Philip, it's a fitting place to talk about the rugs because Donatella and I have collaborated a few times now on with rugs and jewelry. And I'll tell you if there's time today, I'll talk to you a little bit maybe about the other projects that we worked on. And the way the way we collaborate is we share the artwork for my artwork for the rugs, and she makes wonderful jewelry. I have some samples here. I'll show you afterwards. Ranya's going to show us a short film about it kind of tells the story of this project, Gandhian Color, in a nutshell. And then I can talk a little bit more about it afterwards. But I thought maybe I should briefly give you a tiny bit of context to who I am and what I do. So my name's Nuala Goodman, and I'm originally from Ireland, and I've lived in Milan for a long time. My training is as a painter, but I always had a great passion for textiles way back from the early days when I was a student in college and I would turn my paintings into pieces of clothing. And that kind of in a roundabout way brought me to Italy, to Milan, where I worked for a time at Ettore Sottsass studio, and I'm still here. And then over the years, I would, for example, hand paint collections of clothing for Beefy, which is a great boutique in Milan, Luisa Via Roma in Florence, designed many textiles. And then later on, I co-founded a company called I&I, Italy plus India. And there were quite a lot of textiles, including rugs, in the collection. So at that point, I wasn't designing rugs, but I was following production, which turned out invaluable later on, because then further down the line, I was doing an exhibition in Palazzo Fortuny in Venice. And there I designed rugs for the first time. So these rugs, the Gandhian Color rugs, are produced by an Indian company from Jaipur called Sarasvati Global. So I think it would be helpful if Rania shows the film, because that'll really kind of give you the story very briefly of the whole concept. I hope the sound on that was okay. I'm just going to add a little bit to that, just about Mahatma Gandhi's, what he did in India. These are a few lines taken from a piece in a textile magazine called Cover, and the journalist was Dena Jones, and I really like what she wrote. So it's just to give a little bit more information. So Mohandas Gandhi, he was born in 1869, lived until 1948, lived his life in non-violent civil disobedience to British rule in India and the laws and taxes that disempowered and impoverished the country's people. Known more widely as the Mahatma, meaning great soul, his 1930 Salt March, in Indian, it means the Satyagraha, I think you pronounce it, it means the pursuit of truth. And it inspired the Gandhian Color collection. The British Colonial Salt Act in 1835 meant that Indians were forbidden to gather or to mine salt. The mineral became a government monopoly. Gandhi's plan was simple but powerful. He organized a week-long march of 400 kilometers to a natural source of salt on the edge of the Arabian Sea. At the destination, Gandhi gathered salt in his hand and publicly broke the law. Global newspaper headlines included, "Gandhi defies Britain, makes salt in India." And these initial headlines were soon followed by, "Salt rights are granted by Britain." So Gandhi's Salt March became a critical juncture on India's march towards self-rule. And then the journalist says that the theme of Gandhian Color is in tune with growing global objections to business as usual, whether that means social injustice, climate crisis, or other issues such as the accelerating wealth gap. Well, very actual. So an interesting fact about the rugs and jewelry is that initially everything was meant to be in black and white. So more true to the black and white images of the photos, the photographic documentation. And then COVID happened. I actually have a black and white sample here, and it is nice, but I spoke with my friend Donatella because we'd been planning on having an exhibition. And we said, God, but you know, this was post-COVID, post the first lockdown, when there was talk about having the first Milan Design Week once again. And we said, God, black and white, though, people need colour. So we said, let's go for colour. And then we thought, well, what better colours than life-affirming, pure Indian colours? So, you know, we went for saffron, the ultramarine blue that you can see behind me, turquoise. And then Donatella made some wonderful jewelry with the same artwork. Magenta and a gorgeous kind of burnt orange. There we are. These are just some of the pieces of the resin pieces. Yeah, so I mean the graphics of the rugs are very strong. So I felt that they worked very well in tufted, but actually hand knotted. Anybody who knows about rugs, hand knotted has a little bit more. So we did those also. Yeah, so that's a little bit about the rugs and the jewelry. To move on, and a concept that I'm very interested in, and I think that it has a relation to the Gandhian Color exhibition, is the idea of the genius lochi. So in classical Roman religion, the genius loci was the protective spirit of a place, or the intangible quality, both physical and spiritual, of a place. The first time I heard this term was when I was installing my exhibition in Venice. And there was one particular piece that we just couldn't find the right place for it anywhere. And the director of the museum, Daniele Ferretti, said, listen to the walls. So that kind of, it really stayed with me, that idea of listening to the place. The place will talk to you if you have ears to listen to it. And similarly, thinking in terms of objects or art, I think that the genius loci of an object, it could be identified possibly through the work of an artist, an original idea for painting perhaps, where the artist has truly transferred something of himself or herself or itself, their best part, into the work. It could also be applied to a rug that has been knotted or hand woven with great skill and care and over time. It could also be relevant to a piece of jewelry that has been crafted to the highest standard and then polished and repolished until it attains perfection. So I have a very brief video just to show you of a rug being finished. It's so just talking about, you know, when somebody puts the best part of themselves into creating something, how that it's healing, and it transmits something positive, I believe, into whatever it is, the object. An example is Gandhi, who himself, you know, he wove his own khadi fabrics of all the garments that he wore. So it was partly a political act to encourage Indian people to become self-sufficient and proud of their traditions, but it also transcended that. In fact, Gandhi stated, "I see God in every thread that I draw on the spinning wheel." And this really strikes a chord with me, as I know that the art of making, creating something slowly, the healing and meditative project or process. And then when it's going well, really well, it can actually even border on the sublime. As Lee was saying, many people took up painting, drawing, and other meditative activities during COVID. I'm 100% sure it kept a lot of people sane and grounded during a very turbulent, uncertain time. My own textile students at the NABA Fashion College in Milan, we normally do a textile course in the school, and it's very hands-on. And the first lockdown happened and the entire course had to go online. So it was a huge challenge for everybody, for them, for the teachers, everybody. I mean, I would find myself posting needles to people and thread to people who were in places where they couldn't access them, or teaching them how to make a cardboard weaving loom. But the amazing thing is how the students followed the course and what great work they did. So I think it was have helped them during that time. So again, this is something I would love to show if we can manage. It's just a quick PDF of couple of other collaborations with Donatella, and yeah, things that I feel tie in with this notion of the concept of textiles that heal. Another example of a collaboration with Donatella, where we did, this was our first collaboration, the Book of Kells, rugs and jewelry. So we took, Philip, you probably are familiar with it because you know Trinity College in Dublin, but it's an ancient Celtic illuminated manuscript that's in the college. And I did a collection of rugs with words, written messages inspired by that, but they were kind of contemporary. And Donatella did her jewelry. We made, so why? With kind of contemporary messages in the rugs and in the jewels that would kind of give positive messages in your home, or give a positive message to the wearer of the pieces. And I also, if there's time, the latest collaboration that we did is beautiful with a few other, it's a little collective of textile artists whose work is it really fit in with what Lee was talking about today, I feel. Fringe, they're called. Anyhow, the last thing I wanted to talk about was need for heroes. So I've been trying to think, is there an equivalent figure to Gandhi in today's world? And I really cannot think of anybody. And an example of today's society is that I switched on Netflix a while ago, wanting to watch something either relaxing or uplifting, and I couldn't really find anything. And I was amazed by the number of anti-heroes that were on Netflix. And I was so interested, I made a list of them. So I'll just give you a few. Hitler's Circle of Evil, The Puppet Master, The Good Liar, The Sinner, The Accusation, Vendetta, Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich, The Ripper, How to Become a Tyrant, How to Get Away with Murder, Narcos. It just went on, the Ted Bundy tapes. And I just thought, God, we really need heroes. So what are we going to do now that we don't have so many heroic figures? Well, one thing that I think, and it's part of the healing process, is I think we all need to become our own heroes. We all need to become the best version of ourselves. And also to continue to draw inspiration from people like Gandhi, people who are no longer with us, but their messages live on. And so I wanted to end on that note, and just with a couple of Gandhi's quotes. One message was, in a gentle way, you can shake the world. Another was, be the change that you wish to see in the world. Then, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And then finally, maybe his most famous phrase, my life is my message. I think we can all draw inspiration from that, and that can fit into that idea of the healing through being the way you live your life, the things that you do, the things that you make, the creative process, are just the kind of person that you are.